Hi everybody, it is Nick from Booster and I'm here with Kyrsten and we are talking about what the key to great creativity is, carrying on the quick conversation series. So Kyrsten, please could you introduce yourself and then share with us what you believe the key is to great creativity.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. So, hi guys. My name is Kyrsten Halley, and I'm probably best known for marketing in the UK, most recently as marketing director at Aldi, which I've recently left after a few amazing years there. But I'm also a non-exec director, so I'm involved in the marketing and governing body of the sport of horse racing in the UK, which is super fun. And I'm also just stepping out on a new journey of setting up my own advisory consultancy practice. And I think, look, super simple. The key to great creativity is people, right? Every single time.
Okay, yeah, great.
And one of my pet hates is that when somebody says the phrase, but I'm not creative. And whenever I hear that, and if I particularly hear that in teams of different factions of teams of, I have somebody who works on the website who says, oh, but I'm not creative, or I have the commercial finance person that works with the marketing team saying, oh, but I'm not creative. And I just don't believe in that. I don't believe in that at all. I think everybody has creativity in them. And I think creativity is a muscle that is built with practice and over time and can get strengthened. Yeah. And I think the more you have the culture of that in the team, the more you unlock great creativity. And I really, I don't think great creativity is something that happens in a moonshot second of, a piece of agency brilliance or a lone wolf in the team. Sure, sometimes those are the visible things that come to light. But I think more often than not, that's actually because there's little creative moments of problem solving, thinking, sharing, laughing, inherent in your team day to day. And I really believe that. And that's always been something that I've really passionately tried to cultivate in the teams that I've led and worked with, including agency teams, is to create that kind of ecosystem. So
fantastic. And how do you bring that? How do you cultivate that? Are there ways of just encouraging people to speak what their thoughts are and everyone gets to contribute and that's made very apparent to them? How do you do that?
Yeah, so look, there's different layers, right? I think, hire brilliant people. That's that's the number one part. Yeah. And if you're inheriting a team, take a big long look at the people you've got around you, and you'll know quickly. Yes, you have to take time to understand nuances and things, but you'll know quickly whether you've got, the sort of firepower that can create new thinking. You walk into a room and you can tell it within 30 seconds. And certainly if you've been around the gig of marketing or advertising for long enough, if you can't, then you probably need to sharpen that up a little bit. Yeah. So I think, hiring people or bringing people into the team who are just naturally innovative, who are solution focused, who are can do, who are growth mindset, they're all words that I would use ahead of creative, actually, because by creative, I don't mean pictures. I mean literally those new thinkers and those ways it can be interesting. So I think that's a big part. Yeah. I think you have to create the culture of the old psychological safety. I think you have to, from a leader's perspective, turn up every day, making it okay for people to share ideas.
Yeah, nice.
And even when that's created a bit of friction or something's gone a bit wrong, you cannot roast people. Yeah. Everybody always asks me about Aldi's social media and, but you guys do so many cheeky things all the time and how do you get that away? And look, the honest answer is we didn't get it right all of the time, There's some posts that didn't land. There's some posts where probably we went a bit too far from a tonal perspective. But what we had to do was not ever rebuke people for that because it was the team's job to push right up to the line. And you can't push right up to the line without occasionally stepping over it. But from a leadership perspective, you've got to make that creatively safe so that the next week the team come back just as hungry to do more and to change and to continually evolve. So I think hire great people. I think create a culture whereby people genuinely feel safe to share their ideas. And I think that phrase of psychological safety can get used a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think if you live it, it doesn't have to get used. It's just in the fabric of your thing. And I think that extends to agency partners as well, of whether your agency feels safe pushing for new, whether they feel safe going beyond, and doing more. That comes out in the day-to-day. And I think you can kind of see and feel when that is or isn't in place. And so I think they're great eyes. And the third thing, I'm a huge fan of everything Adam Morgan. And if you haven't read the book, Beautiful Constraint by Adam Morgan, that's my top tip, reco.
Excellent.
Read that, which is that I think there's nothing scarier than a blank page or something like that. And I think teams tend to look at constraints and see them as a barrier, whereas I think truly creative teams look at constraints and see them as a way to think differently. And back in my days when I was in ABF, we used to have a fun task that we did every so often, which was if we were looking at an idea and we might have had a couple of million quid to play with and it didn't quite seem enough, we used to just turn all the pages over and go, right, for the next hour, you've got 25 quid. What do you do?
Yeah, fantastic.
And come up with it, and actually came up with things of people go and stand on a sandwich board outside something, and you unlock that really creative thinking. And so I think actually having a culture whereby you look at the constraints that are around your business, your brand, your team, and you see those as a positive, not a negative.
Yeah, lovely.
I think they're big. I think they're the big variables.
Love that. And so then the natural next question is there an example of some work where you really felt that creativity, that moment, that collaboration, the inspiration from lots of different people came together to create something that was fantastic for you?
Yeah, I think so. So I think, one that was super close to my heart, and all my team, my old team would know this was a big passion project, was when I first joined Aldi, we had our premium private label brand called Specially Selected.
Yep.
Fantastic range of products of like the really highest quality. And when I first joined Aldi, I was like, oh, it's going to be really interesting learning how good the product quality is. Like 17 years in FMCG marketing before me. So I knew how to assess, is this product just value engineered to be as cheap as it could possibly be, or is it not?
Yeah.
And my socks were literally blown off by this range of how brilliant these products were.
Yeah.
And then when you looked at the market at the time, the fastest growing part of the grocery market at the time was premium private label. And we were growing at Aldi, but we weren't growing at the same rate as everybody else. And so we were like, okay, so we've got a great range of products. We've got an opportunity where there's an undertrade. Yeah. How can we kind of creatively solve this? But we had quite a lot of restraint in that we had hundreds of pieces of packaging that we couldn't afford to change because the packaging change would be too much. So it really became a comms problem to go, we're going to have to promote the hell out of these a different way. And so we did a real kind of challenger exercise of going creatively, if we've just got this and we can't change the branding and we can't change the name, and at the moment consumers haven't been quite picking it up on the way we want to, how do we sell it? Yeah. And we looked at it and we went, premium food, there's some rules. So, we all know dark backgrounds. We all know oozy, delicious, shots where the food looks fantastic. Yeah. Usually some nice strings music in the background and maybe a posh accent talking about it. And we kind of went, well, what are the rules we could change? We were like, well, the food still needs to look delicious. Yeah. Because you want to sell somebody a premium food product, they fall in love with it. What I always say, lick the page. If it doesn't make you want to lick the page, it's not interesting. So we're like, we can't really change that. Yes. Dark probably needs to be still in place just because that semiotically just cues premium. But we were like, but we're Aldi. What can we do differently? A, we're the cheapest by a country mile. Mm-hmm. And the big rule that we wanted to break was premium food advertising never had a price point on it. And we were like, so we're going to stick a price point on it and actually go, this beautiful food shop for that cheap price, and create the kind of cognitive dissonance between that to say, really? And get people to second guess. And then we were like, we're going to bring humour into it. So, the first things we did were some press ads whereby we just had beautiful shots of like 69 Aberdeen Angus steak. And the headline that went across the top of it was absolutely banging. Was what we said. And that was it. And we just put in really witty, funny, Aldi tone, totally colloquial things. And the campaign was called Go All Fancy. And that's what it is. And it sort of just really gently prodded at that piece. But the creativity of that Go All Fancy campaign and understanding that actually our best-selling products weren't the lobster or anything that got the PR headlines. It was like the slightly posher coleslaw and the slightly posher orange juice. Oh, nice. And actually for our target market, understanding them that actually they could just go all fancy and go with that. And we had so much fun with it. And we ended up creating TV campaign. We had Richard E. Grant do the voiceover. Amazing. Richard E. Grant saying the phrase ding dong around a steak in a TV ad was a career highlight for me, super fun. And we just created this whole persona that really sort of played within the premium food space and was mega fun and really creative, and we could just run and run and run with it, so many iterations. But actually the idea was kind of beautifully simple. And it took the bravery to go, actually there are things that we'll just do the same and we won't be completely wacky and out there. But actually what we go deep on, we'll go deep and we'll really run with it. And I think that's a good example, because It required the buying team to work with us. It required different thinking from the agency. From our media space, we had to look at things differently because it was about premium positioning, which wasn't necessarily what we'd been doing.
Yes.
So suddenly we're showing up in completely different places from a media perspective. And from the team, it took that real brand management of going, what's consistent? What do we change? How do we make a look and feel and create a sub-brand that's maybe a little bit different and surprising for the Aldi shopper, and hopefully maybe gets a few Waitrose shoppers in as well. That was the thinking.
Yes, exactly.
That was the
Especially
thinking.
with Richard E. Grant to get them. But I love as you say, the constraints that existed that made it a tough problem.
Yeah.
And that was what was cracked.
The genesis of the idea.
Absolutely fantastic. I love it. Well, thank you very much, Kyrsten.
You're so welcome.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.